Recomputing. Rerouting. Keep left and then turn left. Turn left.
Good evening, everyone. This is Tom the Tap with the Mack Pinnacle. Beginning uh, beginning with our first destination. This is probably night number 3 of the Halloween ride. Uh, so uh, so the first destination, Little Rock, and about 13 miles. So
Keep right and then exit right.
I don't know.
Exit right.
So other than that, that's pretty much.
Keep right and then exit right. Exit right. Turn left. Keep left and then turn left. Turn left. Go straight on. Finding a new route. Go straight on. Get ready to turn right. Turn right. Keep left. Exit left.
Thanks for listening to your NPR station, KUHF Houston News 88.7, a service of the University of Houston. Hi, I'm Catherine Liu. Stay tuned for It's Been a Minute. That's coming up next. And have a great rest of your weekend. It's partly cloudy and 86 degrees right now here at the U of H. And the time right now is 6 o'clock.
Okay, y'all, what song is almost like always?
Song, singing on the chorus, please.
Busy days and long to-do lists? Don't forget about your eyes. Pearl Vision has stylish...
You out of my head. And I bet now that song is going to be stuck in a bunch of your heads, too. You can thank me later. I'm Brittany Luce. You're listening to It's Been a Minute from NPR. And everything I just said is pretty relevant because today on the show, not only am I sitting down with the Kylie Minogue and asking her how she continues to make pop bangers after being in the game for 3 decades, I'm also talking about the music charts being stuck on repeat. The same songs have been dominating all year, and I can't help but think that the Hot 100 is stuck in a doom. What do you think? Do we just need the comfort of familiar sounds, or is there funny business at play? We're getting into all that and more after these headlines.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Janine Herbst. There's just over a week to go until Election Day, and both candidates are campaigning in swing states. Vice President Harris rallied in Michigan with former First Lady Michelle Obama. Harris touched on familiar themes, including the rising cost of health care.
I believe health care should be a right and not just a privilege of those who have the money to afford. On the other hand, we've got Donald Trump, who intends to end the Affordable Care Act.
Trump campaigned in 2 states today, starting in a Detroit suburb where he slammed early voting, even though it was a rally to mark the start of statewide early voting in Michigan. Tonight, Trump's campaigning on the Penn State campus at State College, Pennsylvania.
Kamala will destroy your inheritance, but much more importantly, she's going to destroy your country. If you vote for me, I will ensure that you begin your careers, young people, in a roaring economy in a time of unprecedented peace and prosperity.
Trump's using the college setting to make a direct appeal to first-time voters. A growing number of current and former journalists at the Washington Post are criticizing the newspaper after its owner, Jeff Bezos, decided to withhold a planned editorial endorsement for president for the first time in 36 years. NPR's Juliana Kim reports.
Within hours after the Washington Post publisher William Lewis published an opinion piece explaining the decision to not endorse a candidate this presidential election, the paper published 3 columns and a cartoon to disapprove of that decision. 17 columnists shared a byline in a piece that called the non-endorsement, quote, a terrible mistake, end quote. Another columnist wrote that she had never been more disappointed at her paper. And a Post cartoonist published an image with broad strokes of black paint with the title, Democracy Dies in Darkness. The paper's guild leadership also expressed concern that Post management interfered with the editorial board. So far, one employee, editor Robert Kagan, has resigned in protest. Juliana Kim, NPR News.
U.S. officials are reacting after Israel's anticipated airstrikes against Iran last night, targeting military sites. NPR's Jackie Northam has more.
The National Security Council actually held a background call late last night with a senior administration official who said essentially that, perhaps hopefully, that the U.S. thinks this should be the end of direct military exchange between Israel and Iran. However, that same official said that if Iran chooses to respond, the U.S. is fully prepared to defend against any attack on Israel and has been communicating that message to Tehran.
NPR's Jackie Northam. Meanwhile, Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin today spoke with his Israeli counterpart about using diplomacy to dial down tensions in the region. This is NPR. Maximum security prison north of New York City is hosting a film festival this week. As Samantha Max of member station WNYC reports, all the movies are about the criminal justice system. All the judges are incarcerated. incarcerated.
A group of men serving time at the Sing Sing Correctional Facility evaluated 5 documentaries about policing, prisons, and the courts. A formerly incarcerated filmmaker visited the men at Sing Sing and trained them on how to critique movies. Kiki Dunstan works for the Marshall Project, which organized the film festival. She says she hopes other prisons will hold their own festivals in the future.
And we just pray that we can continue to do programs like this to show that it can happen, to be honest.
The event is the first known film festival inside a prison in New York and just the second nationwide. The San Quentin Rehabilitation Center in California held its own festival earlier this month. For NPR News, I'm Samantha Max in New York.
The number of people sickened by an E. coli outbreak tied to McDonald's Quarter Pounders is rising. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention says at least 75 people in 13 states got sick, 22 of them hospitalized. No source of the E. coli outbreak has been identified, but officials are focused on raw onions used on the burgers. McDonald's has confirmed a California-based produce company, Taylor Farms, was the supplier of those fresh onions that were used in restaurants involved in the outbreak. I'm Janine Herbst, and you're listening to NPR News from Washington.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include the Kauffman Foundation, providing access to opportunities that help people achieve financial stability, upward mobility, and economic prosperity, regardless of race, gender, or geography. Kauffman.org.
Randy Rainbow became famous for flaming the right on YouTube in the gayest possible way. He has a new book called Low-Hanging Fruit, subtitled Sparkling Wines, that's a pun, Champagne Problems, and Pressing Issues from My Gay Agenda. Randy joins us to talk about his ambivalence on social media and why Trump is eternal. This week on Day 6.
And you're listening to It's Been a Minute from NPR, a show about what's going on in culture and why it doesn't happen by accident. This week, we're connecting the dots between the music charts, vinyls, and another shot of whiskey. I know. How are all of these things connected? Well, we're going to find out with NPR music editor Stephen Thompson. Stephen, welcome back to It's Been a Minute.
It's so great to be here. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's so good to have you. I got to ask you, before we get started with this conversation, what is the first record that you ever bought with your own money?
Well, the first album I ever owned that was gifted to me by my parents was Weird Al Yankovic in 3D.
Okay. Well, I think the first time I bought music with my own money, I bought 2 CD singles when I was 10 years old. Ray of Light by Madonna.
Mm-hmm. Still slaps.
Still slaps. And The Boy Is Mine by Brandy and Monica.
Oh my God. Those are great songs.
I know. And I still love them both. And fun fact, The Boy Is Mine spent 13 weeks at number 1, which was a really big deal at the time. I mean, that song was everywhere. That was a really long run. And I like to think that I had something to do with it.
Absolutely. You bought it.
I bought it. Which brings me to today's topic. We're talking about the competitive side of music, the charts. And there's some really strange things going on with the charts right now. But to start, Stephen, as NPR's resident chart watcher, who is at the top of the singles chart right now, and how long have they been there?
Well, the number 1 song in the country for 15 non-consecutive weeks is a bar song, parentheses, Tipsy, by Shabuzi. It has been an immovable object at the top of the chart for 15 weeks. And to put that in perspective, Billboard magazine started compiling the Hot 100 in August of 1958. And in the time since 1958, a grand total of 6 songs have topped the chart for 15 or more weeks. And of those 6, the majority have come out in the last 5 or 10 years. It has become more common for songs to sit at the top of the chart for longer and longer.
So to sum that up, basically the top songs are dominating the charts longer than ever. And that has some pretty pretty big repercussions for music lovers, which we'll get into. But do the Billboard charts really reflect our listening habits? And what's changed so that songs can have shelf lives longer than ever? That's what Stephen is going to help us answer today. So, Stephen, why are more songs dominating the charts for so long?
Well, I've been trying to get to the bottom of this phenomenon for a few years now, because when you look at TV shows and movies and kind of how long they dominate the cultural conversation, they have a relatively short shelf life. But pop songs are increasingly kind of immovable once they hit the top of the charts. And I think in order to unpack why, one of the things you have to look at is the metrics that go into forming the Billboard charts. When they're putting together the kind of secret sauce of like units of success, the three basic ingredients are sales, radio airplay, and streaming. Now, of those three, sales, especially with songs, has never been weaker. People don't really pay for MP3 downloads the way that they used to, but it's probably the smallest of the three. Radio airplay is a little bit of a trailing indicator. Radio airplay is often reacting to streaming. And when you think about streaming, particularly things like Spotify and Apple Music, but also TikTok and YouTube, is a lot of the algorithms that are driving these streaming services are feeding people what they have already listened to and liked.
It sounds like if you listen to one really popular song, they're going to feed you another really popular song in kind of like a loop in a certain way, it sounds like.
Yeah, we're not just talking about the songs at number one on the Billboard chart. If you look at the Billboard Hot 100 from like June 1st, and you look for now in October, there is a surprising amount of overlap between those two charts. And not just in the top 10, but like once a song falls out of the top 10, like Not Like Us by Kendrick Lamar or Too Sweet by Hozier, and some of these songs that have been around for a really long time, they're sitting there at like number 11, number 12, number
so they
13.
Stick around in the charts.
Even after they fall out of the top 10, they're not just like vanishing into oblivion. A lot of those songs that were in the top 10 in June are still at like number 15 on the pop chart in October.
Oh gosh. Well, Stephen, as you mentioned, I mean, you've followed these charts for a long time, like even before you did this for NPR. And you've said that they can offer, insight into who's having a moment, like who's really hot right now. And the charts can also help the music industry decide who to invest in.
Right.
And, lend lifelong legitimacy for some artists.
Right.
But as you've watched these metrics change, do you think the charts are an accurate indicator of an artist's popularity or listeners' tastes? And were they ever?
Were they ever is a really good question, because any kind of metric to determine what does the monoculture think of different pieces of music is going to be an imperfect metric. But it used to be much tidier. It used to be you could determine that people were interested in hearing a song if they were buying a lot of 7-inch singles of that song. And I think some of these metrics today are a little easier to game. Interestingly enough, when we talk about the Billboard Albums chart, it's very possible for, and happens all the time in fact, for major stars to essentially manipulate the Billboard Albums chart by releasing discount-priced digital downloads of albums that contain bonus tracks.
A la Taylor Swift.
Yes, Taylor Swift is one of the most sophisticated practitioners of this. In April, Taylor Swift put out the album The Tortured Poets Department. Huge hit record, number one for many, many weeks. At one point this summer, Taylor Swift suddenly flooded the Taylor Swift market. On her web store, she made available a whole bunch of variant digital editions of the Tortured Poets Department, all for sale for $4.99.
That's savvy.
Each variant edition had a different bonus track. All of this was designed to create this sugar high of sales that would keep the Tortured Poets Department at number one for another week, during the same week that Kanye West dropped an album-length collaboration with Ty Dolla $ign. So Taylor Swift and her fans saw an opportunity to block Kanye West from the top of the Billboard charts. This is not exclusive to Taylor Swift. A lot of artists do this.
Who suffers when these systems are so gamified?
There's a huge underserved middle class in music. kind of working bands, working singers, working artists who haven't necessarily broken through to the level of like a Chapel Roan. And the charts aren't really able to capture those kind of middle-class successes. And the way the Billboard, particularly the Billboard Albums chart, is set up, everything's lumped together. Relatively new albums, since your Sabrina Carpenter, your Chapel Roan, your Morgan Wallen. These albums sit at the top of the chart. When you start to scroll down the Billboard 200, you see a lot of ancient albums. You'll see Fleetwood Mac's Rumors sitting in the top 40. You'll see the greatest hits of Creedence Clearwater Revival. Taylor Swift generally has somewhere between 9 and 11 albums on the Billboard 200 on any given week.
What?
Where one artist is basically holding down 1/20th of the entire Billboard 200. So what ends up happening is you have artists that have large followings that are successful in their field, but you wouldn't necessarily know it. And so you don't necessarily get a sense of what's new that people are latching onto just in somewhat smaller number.
Jeez. Oh my gosh. It's really been a ride hearing all about how we've arrived at these kind of stagnant Billboard charts that we have today. But I guess if nothing changes for now, we do know one thing that'll rock the numbers: Christmas music.
Oh, man.
Mariah will be back soon enough. Anyway, I have learned so much here, Stephen. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Brittany.
And as a thank you, I'd like to teach you something by playing a game with you and a good friend of yours. Can you stick around for a tiny bit longer?
I sure can.
We'll be right back with a little game I like to call What Did You Know? You are listening to It's Been a Minute from NPR. I'm Brittany Luce, here with NPR's Stephen Thompson. Hi, Stephen.
Hello, Brittany.
And we are also joined by Pop Culture Happy Hour's Linda Holmes. Welcome, Linda.
Hello, Brittany.
Oh, I'm so glad to have both of you back here, and for this reason. So as you know, we're here to play a little game I like to call What Did You Know? Here's how it works. I'm going to share a story that's been making headlines this week, and as I give you some background on that story, I'll also ask trivia related to it. But don't worry, it's all multiple choice. The right answer is in there somewhere, and the first one to blurt out the right answer gets a point. Person with the most points wins, and their prize is bragging rights. Are you ready?
The most valuable prize of all when I'm competing with my best friend / nemesis, Linda Holmes.
That's true. Like I was going to say, works on us. Works on us.
Well, for today's game, we are turning our attention to someone who may not top the charts, but definitely stays at the top of the headlines. Former President Donald Trump. In the midst of a historic presidential race, Trump took time out of his busy campaign schedule to work a shift at a McDonald's in Pennsylvania. Have y'all seen this?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So I have to say it honestly kind of stopped me in my tracks. After Trump's stint as a fast food employee, the Trump campaign and the Republican National Committee sold limited edition t-shirts commemorating the event. My question to you both: what phrase was on this coveted shirt? Was it A, MAGA Donalds, B, Make America Affordable Again, or C, Make the dollar menu $1 again, which I would argue is actually like a winning campaign strategy?
It's MAGA Donalds.
Steven says MAGA Donalds. What do you say, Linda?
Well, Steven seems to know, but I agree with you, Brittany, that the really good one would be Make the dollar menu $1.
The answer is indeed A, MAGA Donalds. Which, what a name. I mean, when I heard that, I think I went into a laughing fit. And I didn't come out for some time because I was just like, what is this?
It's awkward.
It is quite awkward. But that t-shirt still completely sold out. Well, on to question 2. Now, Donald Trump isn't the only public figure to try their hand at fast food work. In 2023, singer Ed Sheeran worked behind the counter at the Wiener Circle in Chicago, but had a bit of trouble adjusting to one key part of the job. Was it A, cooking hot dogs, B, being mean to the clientele, or C, special order requests?
I think it's B. I think it's being mean to the clientele.
I am going to take C, special order requests.
Well, the answer is in fact B, being mean to the clientele.
Yes.
Stephen was right again. The Wiener Circle in Chicago is known for serving up a side of insults to their customers. In fact, tweeted, "Our newest trainee at Ed Sheeran has a lot to learn. He's way too proper and friendly." I don't know. I feel like after a 10-minute shift at a Chicago hot dog stand, I feel like I could find a few mean things to say. Like, I feel like I would be up to my eyeballs in stress. All right. To recap the score, Linda, you are at 0 points, and Stephen, you are at 2 points. Without further ado, the final question. And you know what? Since I'm feeling spicy today, I actually think question 3 is going to be winner takes all.
Wow.
Yeah, that's how we keep things going around here. All right, well, for this last one, I'm returning to the source, McDonald's. But this time, you have to guess the celebrity that actually worked at the fast food chain before they became famous. Okay? So, which musician was fired from 3 different McDonald's? 3 different McDonald's, and later went on to write the "I'm Loving It" jingle. Is it A, Pharrell, B, Timbaland, or C, Lin-Manuel Miranda?
I'm going to say Pharrell.
Linda says Pharrell. What do you say, Stephen?
I was going to say Pharrell. I'm going to go with B, Timbaland. I think I would know if Lin-Manuel Miranda wrote them.
Also, it would have a lot more words in it. Lin-Manuel Miranda has never written anything with 3 words.
Does a hamburger, french fries.
Well, Linda, I'm glad you put yourself out there because the answer was indeed A, Pharrell.
Oh.
So, the "I'm Loving It" jingle has a storied past. Not only was it supposed to be on Justin Timberlake's second solo album as an actual song, there was actually some controversy around whether or not Clips member Pusha T actually wrote the jingle himself. So, who knew? I don't know. All right, well, that's it for What Did You Know for this week. Congratulations to Linda on her win.
Oh.
Yay!
Linda on a technicality.
Oh, is it a technicality?
A technicality called getting the points. I don't know. Technicality called winning.
Well, Linda, Stephen, thank you both so much for joining me today. This was so much fun.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brittany.
Those were co-hosts of NPR's Pop Culture Happy Hour, Linda Holmes and Stephen Thompson. Coming up, I sit down with pop legend Kylie Minogue, and she shares her secret to staying on top of the charts for 3 decades in a row. I'm Brittany Luce, and you're listening to It's Been a Minute from NPR.
Tonight on Houston Public Media TV8, enjoy the laughs with a double feature of Keeping Up Appearances at 6:30. Then track the clues with Midsummer Murders at 7:30 and Agatha Christie's Poirot at 9:10. It's all tonight on TV8.
Tired of the racket and the rancor? Our imperfect union has a ways to go, but we won't know where we're going if we don't know where we're coming from. That's why we're here. Just because things are complicated, that doesn't mean we have to be confused. Join me, Jen White, for a daily conversation for a changing country. Next time on 1A.
1A, weekdays at 11 a.m. on News 88.7.
Support comes from Comcast Business. From Main Street to Wall Street, Comcast Business provides business solutions ranging from cybersecurity solutions to round-the-clock partnership. Powering possibilities. Restrictions apply.
Support for NPR comes from the station and from a cloud-based phone service for any size business with an automated virtual receptionist, video meetings, and other features to connect to customers and coworkers anywhere at ooma.com/NPR. And from MIDI Health, committed to providing a supported path to symptom relief for women in perimenopause and menopause, offering personalized virtual care. Learn more at joinmidi.com. This is NPR.
You're listening to It's Been a Minute from NPR. I'm Brittany Luce, and a legend has just entered the studios at NPR New York. Hello! Oh my God, please have a seat.
Oh, thank you.
Oh my gosh, well, I want to go ahead and jump right in.
Do it, Brittany.
Y'all, right now, you are listening to me sitting in the same room as Kylie Minogue. I just gotta say, I don't get to fangirl out like this very often, but I'm so pumped to be sitting here with you in the same room.
That's amazing. And the fact you said pumped, I think that came from Australia. I think we said we a lot of things start in Australia, and that might be one of them. I'm so pumped.
I tried to fact check that, but unfortunately, I cannot prove that pumped originated in Australia. But I can verify that the woman speaking is in fact the Australian pop star, legend, icon, Kylie Minogue. And she was just as lovely as you would expect in person. She had perfect blonde highlights. Her makeup was done with care. Oh, and she had that megawatt smile just blasting across the table from me. It was perfect.
This is really cute.
Isn't it? Isn't it? It's nice. I love it. What she doesn't know is that for years, she's been a part of my spiritual routine, my spring cleaning, if you will. Every year, to transition from winter into the warm, sexy summer vibe, I walk into my bathroom, stare myself down in the mirror, and blast Kylie's 2014 deep cut, I Was Gonna Cancel.
I was gonna cancel, and I love it blue sky. The feathers won't feel the sunshine.
Come on. Is that not like the perfect little antidepressant? Oh, I love that song. Ah! Kylie means a lot to me, and she's meant a lot to a lot of people since her first hit in 1988. We're talking about someone who has been a pop star and winning over people's hearts for 36 years. So yeah, I was excited to talk to her, and so were so many people in my life. My husband was excited. My best friend from college was excited. My other best friends from college, Keith, he loves you. He's excited. One of our producers has been talking about how his group chat of gay men are going to be so upset when they find out.
They're going to be livid.
Yes.
They're going to be
when they found out this is happening and they didn't know anything about it. I mean, all that to say, Kylie, you know, people love you. The people love you and have for decades. But what do you think it is that people adore about you?
I don't know the answer to that. It's very hard to. I mean, that's a huge compliment. And if I was to take a guess, I think that a lot of people have known me for a long time. I feel a bit like a family member, but, you know, one that's kind of pretty extra sometimes. And certainly, but this isn't an entire truth because I'm realizing that since Madame last year and Tension, there's like Gen Z going, oh, that's the la la la, that's that girl. And the OGs are going, yeah, that's that girl.
So for those who are new to Kylie Minogue, here's what she's talking about. The girl who made one of last year's songs of the summer. Ba-dum, ba-dum. Also made this mega hit, Can't Get You Out of My Head. Shout out to all the OG fans. I see you.
I do the work, I can present what I'm supposed to present, but somehow I think they can see the person through the work, and I'm very touched by that.
Really fast, let me stop the track and tell you why I'm talking to Kylie right now. Yes, I love her, but I think there really is something remarkable about her story. She's in the middle of having a capital M moment. In the past year, she's dropped 2 albums, had a smash hit single, sold out her Vegas residency, and now she's about to embark on one of her biggest world tours. But the thing is, this isn't her first capital M moment. We're talking about someone who back in 2000 wore a pair of gold booty shorts from a flea market in one of her music videos, and they caused such a stir that they are now behind bulletproof glass in an art museum in Melbourne and worth $10 million. Right now, I look around at all these new pop stars who are having their first peak of their career, and also how open some of them, like Chappell Roan, have been about how scary or invasive being the it girl can be. I don't know which one of them will someday have fits behind bulletproof glass, but I do know Kylie has a thing or two to teach them about finding another peak after you've summited the first. And that's why I'm talking to Kylie Minogue, to find out how to keep dreaming when you keep achieving your dreams. Take me to a moment in this past year where you were just like, oh my gosh, I'm killing it, where you could really feel yourself being in the peak. Where were you?
When I got a Grammy, which was pretty amazing, which was in Los Angeles. That was definitely a moment. It was extra sweet because it was my second, which is crazy to say, but the first was 20 years before, so there's, I genuinely feel like it's shared. That someone can see, you can have a career long after people thought you wouldn't, or it's, I'm still here, I'm still trying, and currently achieving.
Yes.
So, yeah, it was really sweet that there was longevity right in front of my eyes.
I mean, and there's so much more to come. I mean, you're about to embark on this huge world tour, and by my count, this is like your 20th world tour or something like that?
Is it?
I think.
Brittany, I haven't even done the calculation.
No.
What?
By our research.
I'm exhausted.
Yeah, it's 20 or at least there.
Is it?
You know, your first tour was Disco and Dream in 1989. And you were in your early 20s, maybe just 21 or 22 years old?
I was just 21, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, how has the feeling of walking out onto the stage changed for you since then? Like what do you see and feel now when you go on stage versus that first tour?
I mean, where do we start? There wasn't a guidebook on how to be a pop star, so I would have been really nervous. I was kind of rabbit in the headlights, and that's okay. I was a kid and I was learning, but as with everything, I feel the fear and do it anyway. My first demo when I was 17, I did 3 songs. Why did I know I was 17? All these years later, I've spent time with the mic. Like, I have taken ownership of record. I know what I'm doing. It's not a mystery. I don't do anything special. I just get to spend time with it myself.
You know, thinking about your latest album, your next era that's going to be defined by this new tour, you sound so comfortable and self-assured and at ease on tension, too. Have you reached a point in your career in pop stardom where you feel like it's gotten easier? Like maybe is it more natural for you to create or come up with the next hot thing or, embark on a tour?
To embark on a tour, yes. To make the thing, no.
So the creative part doesn't get easier.
Yeah, it's a tricky for me to answer because it does in a way, yes, because I'm confident walking. Well, not confident. I enjoy walking into a studio, into a session, and if I flash rewind back to my early days, I would have been less
self-assured,
or to contribute. I kind of just here's a song, sing it. So over time, that's definitely changed.
I mean, and you produced like on Disco, because you were creating that during I did lockdown, right?
Yeah, I mean, I did my vocals, and that's changed my life, honestly.
Really?
Yeah. At the time, it was just a scramble. Like there was no choice. So
you were like opening GarageBand.
Yes.
Really?
I started with GarageBand, and then when we ordered everything that I need, and I don't film my life like that, but actually maybe I should have like that. This is where do all these cables go? What do I do? And anyway, I learned how to do it, and now 3 albums later, it's changed everything.
Oh, that sounds so great.
Because this guy here, this microphone, is the portal. And if I had one bit of advice for someone starting out, I'd say, get on it.
Get on it. Just like jump in.
Yeah.
Lights, camera, action, that's it.
You're listening to It's Been a Minute from NPR. I'm Brittany Luce, here with pop star Kylie Minogue. She just released her 17th studio album, and we're talking about what it takes to stay on top for decades. Speaking of your lengthy career, all of this stuff about performing and having and maintaining and fighting for a long career makes me think of a show called Hacks, which I have found out, yes, you've guessed, you've raised a hand. I have found out that you've watched. I've heard that you've watched and that you're caught up on season 3.
I've done it. I've done it. And
for people who don't know, I mean, it's about a female comedian with a Vegas residency, long-standing Vegas residency, where show is about how as soon as she, gets off stage, she's got to basically clock into another shift of fighting, to keep her career going and staying relevant and staying sharp. And I mean, you're one of the few people who could watch Hacks.
I related to
yeah. I mean, yeah, and actually say, this looks like my life.
I don't have the mansion like that, just FYI. I got to work on that.
You don't have a Deborah Vance mansion.
Go straight on.
But I mean, I wonder, like after the show is over, do you feel like you have to keep fighting like Deborah Vance?
It's not a constant thing, but yeah, it's a grind, and it does take determination. It really does. But if you've got passion that can power that, I think that you've got a fighting chance. But Deborah Vance, I love you.
I love Deborah Vance.
I love her. Deborah, the wig's off, the thing's on. She needs a lymphatic drainage massage. She's got her people. I mean, she's like, she has to put that, her kind of armor jacket on and go and do the do.
I mean, is that kind of like, is that kind of sort of like being in the game, almost like decompressing? Do you have to do a similar thing when you're in Vegas?
I kind of have to do a similar thing a lot of the time, not solely Vegas, but yeah, my show wasn't on till like 11:15 at night, so I mean 5 a.m. rolled around real fast. I was totally in a Vegas twilight, and I liked it. I did like it. It worked for me, come to think of it.
Since the pandemic began, we've seen pop music sounding more and more like dance music, which kind of makes sense. I mean, big pop stars like Beyonce and Charli XCX are using dance music to make pop songs. And I mean, I think you are a person who really made the blueprint, for that kind of like pop dance music back in, the early 2000s.
Y2K.
Yes, I mean, with Fever. I mean, you took these kind of underground dance beats and these grooves and kind of and packaged it as pop music of high quality, right? It wasn't a watering down; it was like an enhancement.
I can kind of trace that. I'm thinking Y2K, and then I go back to the 90s, which was taking by my kind of measuring. What's the saying? My measuring bar, my measuring stick, my yardstick. Quite underground from me in the 90s. I kind of tapped into that. So then some of the other songs on Light Years, and even the Donna Summer reference on that, which was found in Light Years.
There's so many people who are now making the kind of music that you, in a sense, pioneered at that time, and
that's
with those albums. But I mean, and now you're all making music together. But I wonder, like, what is the secret for turning dance music into pop music that people love?
I don't know what the secret is. But as you were talking about it before, I was thinking, at that time, if that's when, and I think you're right. That's that's the start of that real kind of sound for me. Millennium Fever. We're all in a kind of modern, futuristic mood. I was working with Biff. We still work together 20-something years later. But most famously, he did Spice Girls. So he's a pop head through and through. But he's tapped into all these other sounds. And around that time, we'd been through someone like Air, Daft Punk, that kind of influence. So if I in any way have the blueprint, I'm just trying to think, how did I arrive at that? It was because of influences. I think I had a real merge of super pop, new wave, disco, that French disco that I just, it was like a light bulb went off in me. I absolutely loved it.
Now, bring it to today. I've heard you say that this moment right now is your most liberated era. I wonder, how does that relate to what's happening in your life right now?
Well, I'm 56, and it's like you read about in articles, like you hear people say, something happens. The younger self is like, whatever, I don't know what you're talking about. Cut to now, I mean, why wouldn't I feel liberated? It's a beautiful, crazy time for me. To know that I can still do that is really amazing.
was so fantastic.
Thank you.
That was one of my heroes, Kylie Minogue. She has a brand new album out right now called Tension 2. You're listening to It's Been a Minute from NPR. I'm Brittany Luce, and it's time for a showdown. Welcome to The Smackdown, a debate series about the best of the best to come from American cities. Today's cage match is being held on my home turf of Detroit, Michigan. This is my homecoming of sorts. And our debaters this week are member station WDET's Tia Graham, co-host of The Metro, and Carrie Jr., a producer for WDET's Created Equal. Tia, Carrie, did y'all get everything ready for my homecoming party?
You know, we're still working on it. How about that?
I got the memo. I've got some Detroit-style pizza. We got it all ready for you.
Yes.
Well, let me tell you how this debate is going to work. We're each going to pick one person. It could be your mom, maybe a politician, or an artist to come from Detroit.
Yes.
We'll each make our argument for our contender, and then a select jury of NPR culture critics will decide who made the best argument.
I have so many different things that I want to talk about.
You don't want to give Carrie a window into what you're thinking.
I'm like, go ahead, spill the tea, Tia.
Spill the tea, Tia,
You decide and make your case. There will be winners. There will be losers. There will be surprises. I just want to say, y'all have, all these boots on the ground, okay? You have all these resources at your fingertips. I hope you use them, because I would hate to see me winning if y'all are right there. That's all I want to say. That's all I want to say.
Carrie, if one of us, out of the two of us don't win, it's
because I'm from Farmington Hills, and you don't want that.
We gotta hold it down.
We gotta hold it down.
The Detroit Smackdown begins after a quick break. I'm Brittany Luce, and you're listening to It's Been a Minute from NPR.
This is Briefcase, brought to you in partnership with the University of Houston Law Center. Here's Dean Leonard Baines.
The modern era continued to expand voting rights with the enactment of the 23rd Amendment in 1961, giving the residents of Washington, D.C. the right to vote in presidential elections. Washington, D.C. is a federal district under the exclusive jurisdiction of the U.S. Congress. It is not a state or part of any state. The district's residents participated in their first presidential election in 1964. However, even though D.C. has more than 700,000 residents and a local budget of more than $15 billion, residents have no voting members in Congress or U.S. senators. I'm Dean Leonard Baines.
From the University of Houston Law Center, this has been Briefcase. For more episodes, visit houstonpublicmedia.org/briefcase.
Support for NPR comes from the station and from Indeed, designed to be an end-to-end hiring solution for businesses of all sizes to attract, interview, and hire candidates, all from one platform. Learn more at Indeed.com/NPR. From MIDI Health, committed to providing a supported path to symptom relief for women in perimenopause and menopause, offering personalized virtual care. Learn more at joinmidi.com. And from the sustaining members of this NPR station.
You're listening to It's Been a Minute from NPR. I'm Brittany Luce, and welcome back to The Smackdown, a debate series over what are the most influential things to come from American cities. This week, we are in my hometown of Detroit, Michigan, and I gave member station WDET's Tia Graham and Carrie Jr. 2 weeks to come up with their picks for who is the most influential person from Detroit, Michigan. It's time to debate. Without further ado, who is the most important person to come out of Detroit? Maybe it's your mom, a musician, or a comedian. Tia, who did you choose and why?
Brittany, my pick is Aretha Franklin. and the 18 times over Grammy winner, National Medal of Arts, and Presidential Medal of Freedom recipient, and maybe the most influential singer ever. She was a cover queen. She'd sing your song, and then all of a sudden it wasn't yours anymore. One of my favorite tracks by her, Say a Little Prayer, not her original song, didn't know, but she made it hers. And that's because the Queen of Soul honed her vocal abilities at New Bethel Baptist Church. It's in Detroit, and it was run by her father, Pastor C.L. Franklin.
Well, I'm gonna set myself, yes I am, into your hand.
And lucky for Aretha, his church was famous for its choir. Every single week, the radio broadcast their performances. And as a kid, Aretha could be seen up on stage singing and wooing churchgoers. It was also in this church where her voice was first caught on tape. She was only 14 years old. Aretha watched as activists in the civil rights movement battled against discrimination, and Aretha decided to lend her voice to them, and her church, the New Bethel Baptist Church, became the center of the civil rights movement in Detroit. And while her star had been rising during this time, it was a combination of her talent, her involvement in the movement that gave Aretha her very first #1 hit. Do you know what that song is? Do you know what song I'm talking about? All right. Rise of the civil rights movement, and it took on monumental significance. It solidified her position as one of the greatest voices of the generation. Rolling Stone even named her the best singer of all time. Dr. King himself, who she toured with, presented her with a special award for her contributions to the civil rights movement. So I think the choice is very clear to me because of her impact in music, but not just music, but the culture. Aretha Franklin is the best and the most influential voice out of the city of Detroit, period.
Another strong pick. Another strong pick.
Tia, that is an excellent contender for most influential person from Detroit. I mean, I think for many people, when they think of Detroit, they think of Aretha Franklin. So that's a good one. But it's my turn now. I think that the most influential person to come from Detroit is Maxine Powell. Do you know who she is?
I've heard her name.
I know, I've heard her name before.
Well, this is what I'm here for. Well, in Motown's heyday, Maxine Powell was their director of artist development, and she was responsible for turning Motown artists into stars.
Everybody walks, but I teach how to glide. My name is Maxine Powell. I am a motivator and an image builder. I teach personal development and self-growth.
She worked with everyone from the Temptations and the Supremes to Marvin Gaye.
And I teach class.
Now, which one of the groups is the most difficult for you to work with?
I don't have that. No one is difficult. Each person is a beautiful, unique human being. You came in the world with somebody. So if you have a problem and you're acting negative, you have been conditioned by someone or some environment. And I said to my students, allow me to help you unmask and realize and discover what a beautiful flower you are.
Often telling artists that she was preparing them for the White House in Buckingham Palace, which to some of these kids from Detroit may have previously been unthinkable.
Because I teach class, and class will turn the heads of kings and queens.
She also was quoted as saying, all the Motown acts were diamonds in the rough, and we at Motown were just there to polish them. Picture picture this. It's 1964, and you just landed a deal with Motown Records. The label exec, Berry Gordy, had found you in the Brewster Douglas housing projects on the east side, and your first job, to meet for 2 hours a day with Maxine, where she teach you everything from how to field a question to how to hold a fork.
Pinky out when in doubt.
You'd walk into her classroom and float out a different person.
Now here they are together on TV for the first time. The Temptations and the Supremes singing a medley of each other's hits.
Maxine was responsible for matching the sleek Motown sound with a sleek Motown image, sometimes traveling the world with her clients to ensure that that image went off without a hitch. And she would eventually put her clients in front of kings and queens. In 1968, the Supremes would perform for Queen Elizabeth at the London Palladium. The popularity of Motown artists was critical to the eventual desegregation of radio airwaves. The refined sophistication was considered respectable to white audiences, and that sheen was as much about the sound as it was about the presentation. But Maxine's work was also a source of pride and inspiration for black fans as well, and for generations. When Beyonce and Kelly Rowland were in the early days of Destiny's Child, their manager had them watch old Jackson 5 interviews so they could learn how to speak with poise and a unified message. And they watched old Supremes performances to learn from their signature grace and to be wowed by their gorgeous costumes. That paid off.
When I thought about that, and I thought about the trip to England, and I remember seeing the picture of the Supremes getting off the plane, and they have those outfits on, and they look super elegant and beautiful, and I just thought, yeah, look how beautiful they were, and there was a person behind it. Destiny's Child is like a beautiful image of what the Supremes were. You know, it's like the perfect next generation of woman or girls singing group, you know?
Yeah, I think they're one of the great artists.
Our generation, at least.
I feel like we're hitting up upon your pick, Karen. You're listening to It's Been a Minute from NPR. I'm Brittany Luce, here with WDET's Tia Graham and Carrie Jr., and we're debating who is the most influential person to come from Detroit, Michigan. I'm full of some tension. Carrie, you are up next. Who do you think is the most important person to come out of Detroit?
Well, my pick for the most influential person is Detroit's one and only baby girl, Aaliyah.
Oh boy, say I'm trusting you, my heart, my soul, I probably shouldn't let you. If I let this go, you can take over.
Now, if you think you're gonna win with anyone else, with Destiny's Child, or you're gonna win with I just can't.
I just don't know who that legendary woman is.
Aretha Franklin, Destiny's Child. I don't know. If you're gonna win with one of those, you gotta dust yourself off and try again. All right?
Carrie.
Aaliyah was born in Brooklyn, but she was raised in Detroit. And Detroit turned her into a performer fast. When she was in first grade, she was cast in her school's stage production of Annie. After that, she basically dedicated herself to a career in showbiz. She started taking vocal lessons, dance lessons, guitar lessons. 1 year later, she appeared on Star Searching.
From Detroit, Michigan, welcome 10-year-old Aaliyah Hutton.
She didn't win that one, but little Miss Aaliyah had a star in her corner rooting for her. That's her uncle. He had married the iconic singer Gladys Knight, and the next year, Aaliyah was seen on stage performing alongside her. Her uncle soon gets Aaliyah a record deal and introduces her to R. Kelly, unfortunately. R. Kelly illegally married the 15-year-old Aaliyah in secret. It had since been called grooming and abuse. And luckily, that year, she was able to get out of her relationship and distance herself from R. Kelly. But high-profile producers turned her back on her. But however, that brought her to two relatively unknown songwriters, Timbaland and Missy Elliott. I know we know those names. Missy and Timbaland helped her put together her second studio album, One in a Million, which went double platinum and launched their own careers. Aaliyah had a clear signature musical style. It was futuristic, sometimes sparse, but felt addictive and roll funky. She was so ahead of the curve. She delivered smooth and sexy over really alternative beats. And she didn't sing like the other pop stars at the time. She didn't do the acrobatics of Mariah Carey or Celine Dion. She relied on style. I mean, do I have to list all of the people who still cite her as an influence? I do have the list, and you know what, I'm going to go ahead and list it anyway. SZA, Solange, Normani, Frank Ocean, Tinashe, Alicia Keys, J. Cole, JoJo, and then there's Drake, who's obsessed with her. He has her face tattooed on his back. Right. So, in conclusion, I don't think we have R&B as we know it and love it today without Aaliyah. And you can't tell nobody because she's not just anybody.
Well, now you got me in my feelings. I miss Baby Girl all the time.
Baby Girl.
That was really good. You got me in my feelings. I know. Well, we've all selected our contenders. Tia, you chose Aretha Franklin. Carrie, you went with our Baby Girl, Aaliyah. And I chose the Maxine Powell. The NPR Select Jury has voted, and they decided, based on our arguments, that the most influential person to come out of Detroit, Michigan is Maxine Powell. Congratulations to me. I am dedicating this to my Aunt Ida, the classiest woman I have ever known, who taught me so much. But I'm still unsure if I'm actually applying it. But the classiest woman. All right, and thus concludes my homecoming smackdown. And Tia, Carrie, it has been such a pleasure talking through the amazing things that have come from our neck of the woods. So thank you.
You are welcome. It's been a pleasure to chat with another native. So it's so great to do that. Thank you so much, Brittany.
Thank you so much for having us on. A lot of fun.
So much fun. That was member station WDET's Tia Graham, co-host of The Metro, and Carrie Jr., a producer for WDET's Created Equal. This episode of It's Been a Minute was produced by
Barton Girdwood,
Alexis Williams, Liam McBain,
Corey Antonio Rose.
This episode was edited by
Jessica Vlachek.
Our executive producer is
Jasmine Romero.
Our VP of programming is
Yolanda Sanguini.
All right, that's all for this episode of It's Been a Minute from NPR. I'm Brittany Luce. Talk soon.
Support for NPR comes from the station and from BetterHelp, committed to helping clients with issues ranging from relationship challenges and goal setting to grief and depression. Learn more at betterhelp.com/public. From JTV Jewelry Television, offering a variety of jewelry designs, including handcrafted artisan designs from Bali, Turkey, Israel, and India. JTV is available on TV or at jtv.com. And from ECMC Foundation at ecmcfoundation.org.
Support comes from Comcast Business, partnering with companies to help keep their business moving by offering a network of cybersecurity solutions and round-the-clock support. Powered exploring possibilities. Restrictions apply. ComcastBusiness.com.
What's so interesting about the cicada sounds is when you just hear it for the first time, you just hear white noise. You just hear shh. On the next Radio Lab, when you learn what's going on, you can hear the different parts of the orchestra.
We jam with some of our fellow Earthlings.
Something's happening here. This bird and this clarinetist are doing something together.
Join us for the next Radio Lab.
Your NPR station, News 88.7 KUHF Houston, a service of the University of Houston. Get local and breaking news anytime at houstonpublicmedia.org. Listen to us on your favorite devices. Tell your smart speaker to play News 88.7.
Boy, hasn't this been something?
Janis Joplin, Otis Redding, The Who, and Jimi Hendrix, four legends of music lore, who everyone seems to agree launched to new heights in their careers as a result of their appearance at the very first pop rock festival, the Monterey International Pop Festival of 1967. In Hour 1 of our special, we focused on their stories and how the festival came to be and how the event created the template for hundreds of others like it over the years, from Woodstock to Coachella. But there were 33 acts at the three-day Monterey Pop Festival. This hour, a deeper dive into the other sounds from that legendary stage. Blues, soul, folk, pop, and psychedelic rock, from the likes of the Jefferson Airplane, the Steve Miller Band, Simon and Garfunkel, Byrds, and Buffalo Springfield. Other cool stories and commentary from our panel of people who were there, who have done the research. Welcome to Hour 2 of Why Monterey Pop Mattered, the best of the rest.
I asked my mother if I could go to Monterey, and she said, when you're 18, you can go to any festival you want to go. I asked politely, she said, not on my watch till you're 18. So I heard long-distance phone calls from friends of mine coming back from Monterey, or in show and tell in high school the next day, 6 different girls talked about going to Monterey. So I feverishly waited because I heard somebody was making a movie. I'd actually get to see some of the people on film. So when I heard about this movie opening, Monterey Pop, by the filmmaker D.A. Pennebaker, I was so excited, and I went to the premiere of it at the Fine Arts Theater on Wilshire Boulevard in Beverly Hills with the girl I still talk to, Leslie Welk. It was like our first date. And I didn't hold her hand. I was just transfixed. And even though I had heard Ravi Shankar on FM radio, I saw Ravi Shankar. Even though I loved Otis Redding and kind of knew he had played the whiskey, I felt Otis Redding. And then I realized I'm going to see every act. I didn't feel gypped. I kind of felt I saw the movie.
Harvey Kubernick, co-author with his brother Ken of the book A Perfect Haze about the Monterey International Pop Festival in 1967. They're talking about how he, and by now millions, who experienced the legendary music event via the extraordinary D.A. Pennebaker documentary, has continued to tour the world in the years since Monterey Pop. Harvey was right. The film gave a big dose of the festival to those who missed it, but only about a third of the acts there were in the film. Some didn't give permission to be filmed. But virtually the entire festival was recorded, and by now, much has been released. A 4-CD set in 1992 and a newer 2017 compilation of iconic performances. I'm Paul Ingalls with Hour 2 of Why Monterey Pop Mattered, the best of the rest. If you missed Hour 1 that had the detailed stories of the top stars of the show, like Janis Joplin, Otis Redding, The Who, and Jimi Hendrix, you can find that show to hear online at the Public Radio Exchange at prx.org. That's prx.org. A little more from each of them today as well, but also much of the music you're likely to have never heard from Monterey Pop. Like Lou Rawls, third on stage Friday night, June 16th at Monterey.
Because out west it is the best. There ain't no doubt about it. Yes, and double D-Day. I was born in a dump. My mama died and my daddy got drunk. He left me here to die or grow in the middle of Tobacco Road. I grew up in a rusty shack. All I owned was a place called Tobacco Road. But it's home, yeah. The only life I've ever known. Oh, Lordy. Tobacco Road. Well, I'm gonna leave and get a job with the help and the grace of God. I'll save my money and get rich and low, and then bring it back to Tobacco Road. Bring dynamite and a crane, blow it up and start all over again. And I'll build a town I'll be proud to show, and keep the name Tobacco Road. Oh, there's a home, yeah. It's the only life I've ever known. Oh, I despise you 'cause you are filthy, but I love you because you're my home. Well, there's Tobacco Road, Tobacco Road. You're dirty and you're filthy, Tobacco Road. I'm gonna blow you up, I'm gonna tear you down, I'm gonna build me a town that I will be proud to show, and I'll keep the name. I'm gonna keep the name. I'm gonna keep the name. Tobacco Road. Tobacco Road. Tobacco Road. Tobacco Road. Tobacco Road. Road. Talking about Tobacco Road.
Lou Rawls, Tobacco Road from Friday night at Monterey Pop.
Hello, I'm music photographer Henry Diltz, and I was at the Monterey Pop Festival when it happened in '67. This festival, although it was the first one, was quite a bit different in the format than ones that came later, like Woodstock and Bonnaroo and Lollapalooza, because those are a big, huge field full of, tens of thousands of people all standing and crowding up to the stage. Whereas this one, it was a proper venue. I mean, the inside of the actual stadium where the stage was had all chairs set up. It wasn't like a field full of people standing there so that they could boogie around and move. There were proper chairs, wooden folding chairs all set up. And surrounding that, around the edges, were like box seats, kind of like a horse racing thing, like stands. There were stands with box seats and things in them. Simon and Garfunkel. I had never really seen Simon and Garfunkel live before. Of course, we'd all listened to their records plenty. But to see them, just the two of them, like right next to each other, right at the edge of the stage, two microphones, one guitar, two voices, so beautiful. Just going out into the night air. It was such a beautiful experience to see that.
Hello, darkness, my old friend. I've come to talk with you again. Because if vision softly creeping left its seeds while I was sleeping, and the vision that was planted in my brain still remains within the sound of silence. In restless dreams I walked alone, narrow streets of cobblestone, neath the halo of a street lamp. I turned my collar to the cold and damp. When my eyes were stabbed by the flash of a neon light that split the night and touched the sound of silence, and in the naked light I saw 10,000 people, maybe more. People talking without speaking, people hearing without listening, people writing songs that voices never share. No one dare disturb the sound of silence. Said I, you do not know. Silence like a cancer grows. Hear my words that I might teach you. Take my arms that I might reach you. But my words, like silent raindrops, fell and echoed in the wells of silence, and the people bowed and prayed to the neon god they made.
Let's find a new route.
And the sign flashed its warning in the words that it was forming. And the sign said the words of the prophets are written on the subway walls and tenement halls, and whispered in the sounds of silence.
Simon and Garfunkel for Monterey Pop on Friday night. Next night, David Crosby, soon to leave the Byrds, had something to say.
And you know, they're shooting this for television. I'm sure that they'll edit this out. Where they'll edit out Country Joe and the Fish is Good things. Some things, but I want to say it anyway, even though they will edit it out. When President Kennedy was killed, he was not killed by one man. He was shot from a number of different directions by different guns. The story has been suppressed. Witnesses have been killed. And this is your country, ladies and gentlemen.
comes up and down the road.
The Steve Miller Band, not so well known outside of San Francisco back in 1967. Miller tried to get a bunch of guitar gizmos he'd had built to work for his set. He wasn't too pleased with the result, but overall the band's set was well received. And in the years to follow, good things came from Miller and his band, as we all know. I'm Paul Ingalls. Why Monterey Pop Mattered, the best of the rest. Plus another from Janice after this break.
San Francisco. Is filled with hate. Heavens above, he's on a street called love. When will they ever learn? Old cop, young cop, feel uptight on a warm San Francisco night. The children are cool, they don't raise fools. It's an American dream, includes Indians too. San Francisco.
I'm Paul Ingalls. You're listening to Why Monterey Pop Mattered, Hour 2, the best of the rest. You can find Hour 1 of our program at prx.org online. That's prx.org, where you'll hear lots of detail about Janis Joplin's two sets. A little more here right now from Joplin biographer Holly George Warren.
She was one of those performers that just loved to sing. Loved to sing. She loved an audience. She just took that energy that came up to her on stage from the audience, and then it just transformed her into something else. I mean, I think she was at her most happy in life when she was on stage.
Down on me.
deep down there, 1,000 people in the street, singing songs and carrying time, mostly saying hooray for our side. We got to stop, children, what's that sound? Everybody is going down. Paranoia strikes me. Into your life it will be. Songs when you're always afraid. May come on and take you away. And stop. Hey, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. Stop. Children, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. Stop. Hey, I'm a phone. Hey, you got to stop. Look around.
Buffalo Springfield with Stephen Stills and Richie Furay. Neil Young had been in the band, but had quit before Monterey, so David Crosby of the Byrds sat in. One of the first times he played live with Stills. They later team up in Crosby, Stills, and Nash, and of course Neil Young would join them too. Interesting how Stills flips the original lyric in For What It's Worth to There's a man with no gun over there. A little nod to how chill the police were being about the drug use, generally helping Monterey Pop to be 3 days of music and no hassles. Again, these deep cuts from Monterey come from the 2017 sampler called Iconic Performances from the Monterey International Pop Festival, and from a 1992 4-CD box set of the festival that you may be able to find still. There were a lot of outstanding blues ensembles in Monterey. We've put together a little sampler here of 3 of the best. You'll hear Canned Heat. In 1967, they were doing hot blues covers with Bob Bear Height out front, singing the Muddy Waters classic Rollin' and Tumblin'. Then the Paul Butterfield Blues Band, Elvin Bishop on guitar at that time, Butterfield out front, of course. And then you'll hear Electric Flag with Mike Bloomfield impressing everyone on his guitar. blues highlights from the Electric Flag, the Paul Butterfield Blues Band, and Canned Heat. Yeah, I had a treat to talk with Grace Slick of the Jefferson Airplane about the Monterey Pop Festival, and she told me basically you had to be there in that conclave of artists to realize how cool it all was.
I think it's like us trying to understand what Paris was like at the turn of 19th into 20th century. Now we're talking about Diaghilev, Gauguin, Picasso, Gertrude Stein, Alice B. Toklas, all these people. She'd have what she called salons, and Alice would make pot brownies or something, and they'd all talk about art. Now, I have no idea what that was like. I have read about it. That's not enough. Well, now in the 50s, in this country, I'm talking about boring stuff. So all of us being kind of teenagers in the 50s, but we were fairly well read, when, hey, it looks like a lot more fun to turn things on its head like they did in Paris, turn of the century. A lot more fun to live like that than like Leave It to Beaver. So we did. And for a couple of years in the 60s, that same thing happened. Politically, artistically, socially, we just flipped it around. And I'm very grateful to have been in my 20s when that was happening and to be part of it. Really grateful.
One pill makes you larger and one pill makes you small. And the ones that mother gives you don't do anything at all. Go ask Alice, won't you stay tall? And if you go chasing rabbits and you know you're going to fall, tell 'em I've got a smoking caterpillar has given you a call. Call Alice when she was just small. When the men on the chessboard get up and tell you where to go, and you just had some kind of mushroom, and your mind is moving low, go ask Alice, I think she'll know. When logic and proportion have fallen sloppy dead, and the white knight is talking backwards, and the red queen's off with her head. Remember what the Dormouse said. Feed your head, feed your
In a moment, we'll revisit Otis, The Who, and Hendrix, and cram more music into our final segment. The best of the rest of the Monterey Pop Festival continues in a minute. I'm Paul Ingalls. This is Why Monterey Pop
straight
Mattered. Hour 2, the best of the rest. There were persistent rumors through the Monterey Fairgrounds that weekend in June in 1967 that the Beatles, just released Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band a couple of weeks before, might make an appearance. No one knew exactly that they'd given up live performance forever, so that didn't happen. Brian Jones of the Rolling Stones was roaming the grounds there, fueling rumors that the Stones might show, but they didn't. Stones music did, though, make an appearance from the powerful Otis Redding, Booker T, and the MGs. Knocking it out of the fairgrounds from his set closing out Saturday night. As we mentioned in Hour 1, as the festival moved toward its finale on Sunday evening, you can't really say that it started to wind down. Not with The Who and Jimi Hendrix in the mix trying to compete for the most explosive moments, literally. And as we mentioned too, Jerry Garcia of the Grateful Dead always said the Dead played terribly and forgettably, getting stuck in between The Who and Hendrix. There is one released song from the Dead for Monterey, so we've slid it in between the Who and Hendrix cuts here to let you decide for yourself.
Son, you gotta